Moutinho and Nani, the man on the spot, the man in the right place, and this time the net is located. Ali Bedoya, a swing of that trusty left foot, and Philadelphia take the lead against New York City FC.
Palace Hill's ball in towards the edge of the box. Bow turns nicely, and New England Revolution score. Fired home from Gustavo Ball. 10 minutes after half-time.
Well struck and deflected too, which demanded the save from Fry.
Hey everyone, welcome to MLS Today. This Saturday, the first of the MLS Is Back Tournament. I am David Goss, of course, joined by my favorite striker in the world. I almost got in trouble this week for acting like he wasn't. Chuck D, the man, the legend up in Cape Cod. Charlie Davies. MLS Today presented by AT&T every 11 a.m. on MLSsoccer.com, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you are watching right now throughout the tournament. Charlie, first weekend of the tournament. You know how World Cups go. You get that first game, too, but it's the weekend when you get 4 or 5 games going, which you really start to feel that juice.
Yes. I mean, and we've seen the play, I think, start to get better in the second halves when guys have found their footing. Although towards the end of the second half, guys start to feel that fatigue. The heat starts to play a factor. But overall, I'm very pleased with the quality.
We've got a great weekend coming up. We've already seen some good games we'll look back on. San Jose, of course, kicking off against the MLS Cup champion Seattle Sounders last night, and Charlie will break that down for us. We'll preview Group E, some big games coming up later tonight on Fox, and we will talk to one of the Portland Timbers players, Jeremy Ebobisse, who has been outspoken over the last few months throughout his entire career and is starting to get ready to pour in some goals as well. So we got to see him do what he loves, but also get to hear what he has to say. But Charlie, let's start with the draw yesterday. You look at this for Group B, of course, Chicago Fire moving in there in place of FC Dallas. So San Jose and Seattle kick off alone. That first night, they come out to a draw, 0-0 between these two sides. When you walk away from that game, Charlie, when you're finished watching it, who's happier with what happened? Who's set up better?
Oh, San Jose, without a doubt, is thrilled with that result because they played well. They weren't as dangerous as they probably would have liked to be in front of the goal. But when you talk about possession and the movement and the ideas, it was fantastic. For Seattle Sounders, you could tell there was a lot of rust. They didn't look as fit as they normally are. And they were okay with sitting back and absorbing the pressure, knowing that they have players like Rui Diaz, Jordan Morris, Nico Ladero, who can hurt you on the counter. And I think that's what they were playing for the majority of the match was, well, let's just sit back, not exert ourselves too much, and then look to counter and win this game 1-0. I think, unfortunately for them, San Jose just kept the ball and made it, I think, a little bit more difficult for Seattle to catch up because it was constantly chasing the game. And so when you do get possession, no one had the legs. No one had the ideas. They were just lumping balls forward and making it too predictable so San Jose could just recover and then continue to play their game.
One of the things to point out, of course, best third-place teams across the groups will move on to the next round. So draws maybe hurt you a little bit there, and we could see teams towards the end of the group stage start pushing for wins to try and get in. You saw our little title down there. No goals scored in the first half of games. Charlie, you mentioned that lack of finishing. Rui Diaz gets set up in this game, a chance he always finishes. We saw Chris Mueller miss a chance early on in the Orlando game, then gets one later. I wonder, though, and you're a goal scorer, but that last piece, is it harder to create that goal to finish in that moment than it is to defend coming in? For some players haven't played in 4 months. Some players haven't played since last October in a competitive game.
Well, you talk about the 4 months off. It's basically essentially a brand new season without friendlies, without warm-up matches. And so you're going in full speed, 100% competitive matches without the routine, without the being in a rhythm. And for goal scorers, rhythm is everything. Having the fitness is part of it, but being in a rhythm and a routine, if you don't have that, it takes a little while to build that. And matches are how you get to, getting that goal scoring route broken and start getting into, where everything comes off your foot, hits the back of the net. And Raul Rui Diaz, on that instance where that ball comes across from Calvin Leardom, it's a tap in. Look at Juan Agudelo there. It's a first touch tap in. either coming back to where it came from near post or guiding it to the far post. And when he took that extra touch, you knew he's not quite in a rhythm yet. He's not quite match sharp, but that comes.
Yeah, it's the most trainable thing. It's shoulders over the ball, clean, let's finish. But as you said, it takes time, and we will get there. We saw in Europe, when you look at the numbers returning from the layoff, the goal scoring really started to ratchet up and almost reached normal levels. But it took a couple weeks in England and in Germany, so we expect maybe in MLS to start to hit the ground over the next few days. But the fans are out. They are starting to hit their ground a little bit. Some epic viewing parties from around Major League Soccer. Of course, socially distanced. Anytime you go outside, wear a mask. Wear a mask. Stay distant, stay safe. But we had some cool images from around the league. Philadelphia hosting some fans on the field, distanced out around the field. That has to be the nicest grass of any viewing party in the world. We had San Jose, who had some fans out because, of course, they have the biggest outdoor bar, I think, in California, and they've got a giant screen. So it's pretty convenient to host a party there, Charlie.
Sounds
and the
like
Revs
you'd be
as
there.
well. You were up. I would have been there. I couldn't. It's only about a 40-hour drive, so I was like considering it here and there.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Revs as well, hosting fans on the field at Gillette. Charlie, you were in the building to call the game on the radio. This is a pretty cool setup.
It's impressive, and it made me feel like just it brought the most joy out of me to see that all these fans are coming to a drive-in to come together and become like a family, to continue that family feel. And that's what you get when you play in front of the New England Revolution fan bases. Those supporters are so intertwined with each other's lives off the pitch. They hang out together. They build the tifos together. They go to events together. And you felt that watching the fans come into the stadium. I was in a radio booth on the first floor, so I didn't even get to see it in live action.
Charlie,
but you could hear the horns. So I shout out to the New England Revolution fans, to Brian Bellel, the president, for organizing that, and the Crafts for opening the stadium up for the fans to come in. But that was truly impressive.
The whole point of this is to bring a little bit of normalcy back into our routines, into our lives. And as you said, soccer is something that brings us all together. And we will come back together tonight. Saturday night, your plans are set. You are welcome. 8 p.m. Eastern time, New York Red Bulls against Atlanta United on Big Fox. John Strong and Stu Holden have the call for you. It's been one of the best on-field rivalries in MLS over the last 4-5 years. We expect that to continue. And, of course, Barco getting on the front page with no Josef Martinez. A lot will fall on his shoulders. That'll be followed up by another rivalry. Hell is real, as FC Cincinnati and Columbus Crew SC kick off their MLS Is Back competition against each other. That one on FS1 at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll have Mo Adu, Alexi Lawless, and Rob Stone giving you a little bit of a preview, post-game, halftime coverage as well. So the whole Fox crew getting together, getting back into it. Last night, we had one game, of course, with the FC Dallas being withdrawn and being moved around, so it was Seattle Sounders against San Jose. And Charlie, people said Matias Almeida couldn't come and man mark and play at a high level for 90 minutes. And at the end, San Jose arguably outplayed Seattle, as we see here.
There's no arguably. San Jose outplayed Seattle. It was crystal clear. And in large part due to the defensive midfielders, the holding midfielders for San Jose, Jackson Yueill in particular, but Judson as well, to come into those spaces because Seattle dropped off. And once they did that, then San Jose could push those outside backs high up the field, yet they just didn't have a real threat as a number 9. Rios was not really getting in behind and causing problems for them.
I love this chance from Christian Roldan. The player he was when he came into this league, now Hardy's worked to develop. This is a Rui Diaz shot. To rip it with the left foot with power. He was all over the field. Nico Ladero as well. Those two just cover so much ground and create chances. And you mentioned Jackson Yueill almost getting the opening goal here off this deflected shot.
Yes, and Jackson Yueill was all over the pitch. He was connecting passes from side to side, keeping the ball moving. I think he took his game up another level.
And this is the chance you talked about. Rui Diaz, one of the best goal scorers in MLS.
You see
a
the
second
ball
too long here, Charlie.
It comes across, and typically he's finishing that on the first touch. He's not taking a second touch there, which allowed the San Jose defenders to collapse on him, as well as the keeper to cut down his angle. That's typically not what you're going to get from Raul Ruidiaz. He's a finisher. He knows I got one touch in the box and I got to make it count. So again, it's going to take time for Seattle, but they're still in a good position. They got a point. They didn't play the best, but they know that. They recognize that, and I would argue that the next match they're going to come out full steam ahead and try and be aggressive from the whistle.
Well, Charlie mentioned it off the top. For San Jose, a tie against the MLS Cup champions. The opening game, no goals conceded. That's a good start for San Jose to move to first in the standings alongside Seattle going into the second round of games. And let's look at Charlie's breakdown from last night a little bit more about how San Jose got it done.
Here's Yueill. Well struck and deflected too, which demanded the save.
Hey everyone, I'm Charlie Davies, and in today's Top Tier, we're looking at the difference maker for the Quakes, Jackson Yueill. San Jose impressed tonight with their ability to win individual battles and pin defending MLS Cup champs Seattle into their defensive third while keeping possession, and Jackson Yueill was a major part of that. He was responsible for finding the next pass and a consistent, reliable option to build out of the back. With the Quakes pushing up their outside backs, they played a triangle with their two central defenders and Jackson Yueill, the holding midfielder. Jackson would drop deep to get on the ball and start the build-up. He effortlessly glided across the field, going from side to side, finding the soft spots between Seattle's lines to exploit them. He took advantage of Seattle not closing him down, which gave Yueill the time and space needed to find the open man. Tonight, the Sounders challenged San Jose to beat them with combination play. With no space in behind the Seattle defense, Jackson took it upon himself to try and beat Sounders goalkeeper Stefan Frei with a shot from distance. On the defensive side, he made the critical challenges, like this one, taking the ball away from one of the league's best playmakers and dribblers, Nico Ladero. He stood his ground, he didn't dive in, and used his body to win the duel, which allowed San Jose to continue to put pressure on the Sounders' back line. San Jose may not have gotten the win, but Yueill showed he can control the game.
My God, Charlie, working hard all night. I love it, though. And this was going to be a big year for Jackson Yueill. We talked about it. He was a big part of Matias Almeida coming in and changing the team last year, better fortunes, and a lot was expected as a guy who was borderline national team, and now he looks like he's ready to push in, as you said, from last night's game into that national team. A guy who's on that line as well, Christian Roldan, who spoke a little bit after this game along with Stefan Frei about what happened against San Jose and looking forward to the next game.
Yeah, it's definitely progress for Jackson Yueill. The speed of the game, the influence in the game, the awareness, getting in those pockets, the right touch, and then being able to connect those passes. I saw Matthew Doyle put out a tweet about Jackson Yueill's cross field switches, a little bit more of a line drive so it gets there quicker as opposed to putting it in the air and allowing the defense to switch and maneuver before the player gets the ball. So well done, Matthew Doyle, as the armchair analyst. But, yeah, Jackson Yueill taking another step, which is what you want to see from a young American player.
Let's hear from some young American players. Let's hear from Christian Roldan.
In the end, obviously, sloppy play, first game in 3 months, whatever. It probably was going to be summed up like that. But if we could have taken care of one or two opportunities, we'd be happy with the result.
We had a very, very late game today. We're going to have a very, very, very early game on Tuesday. So quickly changing that clock and making sure that when you have to eat breakfast at 5 in the morning and jump onto the field by 9ish, well, even warm up before that, even earlier. You're going to be ready to go physically and mentally as well. So that'll be a big thing. We have good staff. I believe in them. They're going to help us get there and make sure we're prepared. But I think we put a lot of effort out there today. So fluids, and good nutrition is important as well. So we're going to make sure that we do that.
Charlie, I can see you already unhappy thinking about 5 a.m. breakfasts. We have our first 10:30 p.m. game of the tournament coming up tonight. Between Cincinnati and Columbus, and Stefan Frei talking about they will have a 9 a.m. game coming up against Chicago. As a former player, what's your thought process of those two extremes and, how you handle it?
Well, 9 a.m. games, for me, for the players I've talked to currently, it's just the worst. To wake up at 5 a.m. for breakfast, think about that. To mentally prepare yourself and get ready for a match with all the taping, massages, it's difficult. There's no doubt. But then a 10:30 game, you have all day to sleep. You can nap, you can rest, and then get yourself geared up for it. You're gonna take a 10:30 p.m. game all day, all night over that 9 a.m. game. But again, credit to those guys to wake up and be able to be turned on, because we saw in that New York City Philadelphia game, they were competing. It didn't look like they were asleep still. Yeah. So it was. I know it was a tough battle, because Bedoya talked to me right after the game. He said, "I haven't left my bed since I got out. Since we got home to the hotel, I have not left my bed. It's been 6 hours and I can't get up. I'm tired."
Well, if you score goals, you're allowed to do whatever you want. Charlie, everyone
Also
knows
true.
that. One of the teams with the 10:30 p.m. game coming up is the Portland Timbers. They will kick off on Monday in Group F, of course, alongside the Galaxy, LAFC, and Houston. Let's take a look at Gio Savarese's preparation as that team goes into their first game.
So finally in Orlando, finally here to start practicing. Okay, it's been great so far. Everything that we have done in Portland, and I think the weather's a lot better than I anticipated. So make sure that every practice counts, and we have a focus and a target, and that's what we came here. So let's make sure that we start on every practice, that we're competitive, that we make sure that we are everyone accountable on the field. So everyone has to come 100% to practice, and let's have fun. Let's enjoy. Okay, starting from today.
So you hear that little bit of that background from Gio Savarese. As we mentioned, tonight you've got Group E kicking off, Atlanta versus New York Red Bulls, 8 p.m. Eastern time. That one is on Big Fox, and we've got Hell is Real coming up tonight as well. These teams will all then restart again on Thursday, with Atlanta facing off against Cincinnati, who played in the second week of the season, and the Columbus versus New York Red Bulls, and then they close out on July 21st and 22nd. So that's Group E for you. And let's move back on to Group F, the final group that will kick off in this competition, and let's talk to someone who will be a part of it. Our AT&T
Let's do it.
Call to the field here on MLS Today.
J-Bo!
Jeremy Ebobisse, King J-Bo, in the MLS Media Hub down in Orlando. Jeremy, we've got a lot to talk to you about, but let's start here. The Black Players for Change came out on the field before the opening game of this competition with a unified message, a unified protest. We saw what the Philadelphia Union chose to do as a team. You've been a major part of helping put this organization together, but you've been talking about decolonizing your bookshelf and anti-racism for years since you've been in this league. Do you feel like something has changed in the tone and the ability for players to speak in Major League Soccer over the last few weeks, or what is it?
Yeah, it's good to be here with both of you. I think ultimately we go through these periods of time where there is a receptive nature to athlete activism. So the gauge of whether things have actually changed will be how people feel about our organization a year from now when we're still pushing these messages aggressively. We're here for the long haul. It wasn't just about the first game and what we did beforehand. It wasn't just about, everything before that, the press releases and all that. It's going to be about the systemic changes that we want to see within our league and within our communities.
J-Bo,
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, J-Bo, talk about the unity of a league, and whether it's the players, the coaches, the ex-players, the ex-coaches coming together to support the Black Players for Change. Can you talk about what went into that first demonstration, the protest, and how you plan on continuing to raise awareness and not let this be just one tournament where you're outspoken and trying to change the systemic racism?
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment, and a lot went into that. I think we were on about 5 or 6 Zoom calls as a full player pool, and then among the leadership we were on at least a dozen more, and hours spent on that front. and a lot of collaboration across the board. So to see it come together in that manner was really validating that all the work was going towards something, and to see the reception after the fact. You mentioned making sure that the awareness is still there. We want to go the next step. We want to see the changes. It's great that everyone has been saying the right thing so far, that everyone believes in the mission. But again, it's fashionable right now. It is. And the mark will be how we make sure that we build off of this catalyst of a moment, a catalyst that it shouldn't have been, but that it is, and making sure that it's sustainable. And we know that, we go through news cycles, we go through press cycles, and we can't let this one fade away without having something actionable and long term.
What do you want to see specifically? What's been discussed in the Zoom calls and in the Black Players for Change about what can happen, and what can fans who are watching, who are listening in, what can they do to help be a part of that?
Yeah, I think big changes come with the tide of public momentum. So making sure that they stay on our side and that they stay in tune with what we're doing, because we're going to be active on social media, so that they know we're unveiling X initiative at this moment. We need your support in X kind of way. These are all the conversations that we're still having at the moment. But ultimately, we want partners in the long term. We want financial partners, but we also want partners that are willing to put the labor into it, that are willing to work with us on the ground. Because again, we're in a lot of markets, a lot of communities, and there's a lot of different passions within the group. That's the beauty of it. We're all coming from diverse backgrounds within the commonalities that we share. So keeping that kind of support is what's going to ultimately continue to move the needle. Change is slow, but we're hoping to play our part in accelerating it.
Jabo, we saw a video earlier of Josef Martinez talking to you guys in Orlando. How has training been? Do you feel the climate out there? Is it affecting you? And we spoke prior to this tournament about you getting back to being one of those influential strikers, getting in behind, finishing your chances, making those runs. How are you feeling fitness-wise?
It's definitely a challenge relative to Portland. We weren't having the nicest of summers, obviously given the pandemic, but also the weather wasn't consistent. A lot of you will know in the Pacific Northwest how much it rains and the unpredictability there. So getting used to the humidity and everything that has to offer has been a challenge on our fitness, but the group has adapted real well, and we're coming together. We're going to be ready to challenge as soon as the game started. And on a personal level, I'm looking to build off of a big year last year, hoping that I can play my role, whatever it is, in helping this team get as far as possible.
You guys, as the Timbers kick off 10:30 p.m. Eastern time on Monday night against the LA Galaxy. That's just the first of the group stage. As the Timbers, have you come in? Have you talked about goals for this tournament? Can you win this thing? Is that something that's being discussed in the group in training? What's the idea for the Portland Timbers going into MLS Is Back?
Listen, I think if you're not coming here to win this thing, then you might as well not come here. You look at the players, and this is a sacrifice for a lot of the players, having to leave their families for extended periods of time and put them through some hardship that they're not used to. So if we're not here to win it, then there's no reason to be here at all. That speaks to the mindset that we've always had as Timbers. If you look at our team, we still have that core of players that have won an MLS Cup and that have been to another MLS Cup final. So we have the experience. We've matured as a group. We've added new pieces that bring different aspects to our game. So there's no reason why, if we're on the same page, we can't challenge, we can't win this whole thing, and that's exactly what we're setting for.
Jabo, what are your personal expectations? I know you've been able to watch a couple of games. Have you seen something that might bring awareness to your overall game when you are finally able to hit the pitch?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of openness, to be honest. The games aren't quite as tight for as long, so knowing that if we take care of the ball, that should be really beneficial to us in this climate, and we should be able to carve out some opportunities if we're efficient with our movements. It's going to be a challenge. This first game, we need to take it play by play, knowing that it's not always going to be perfect, but ultimately, again, we have the legs, we have the team, and we have the depth as well. So there's no reason why we can't go out there and win.
Thanks, Jeremy, for joining us. This is our AT&T Call to the Field You can follow him on social media, King Jabo, and as he said, you can follow the Black Players for Change. Continue to amplify their voices and show the league and show sponsors and everyone else that what they're saying matters and that you want to see change, not just today, not just tomorrow, but forever in America and in MLS. Jeremy, good luck on Monday, and thanks for taking the time.
Do your thing, man.
Thanks, guys.
So Jeremy Ebobisse will kick off Monday night, and you can get in your Predict 6 for BetMGM on MLSsoccer.com. You can go in there, MLS Predict 6 on MLS, correctly predict the outcomes of the 6 featured matches along with secondary predictions, and you can win $50,000.
I got robbed, guys. I got robbed, guys.
And play for free. Round 1 is locked, but round 2 will be opening up Sunday at noon. Charlie, why'd you get robbed?
Because I had the perfect Predict 6. I'm telling you, $50,000 in my pocket. But it didn't let me register. And then when I went to finally do it again on my computer, it was too late.
Charlie, I don't even think you're allowed to play. I don't even think you're allowed to win. You're Charlie Davies. You already have the insider info. It's not fair. Now, coming into tonight, Big Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Atlanta United against New York Red Bulls. It's one of the best rivalries on the field. 65% of fans picked Atlanta United to win that game, Charlie. That is a huge number for two teams. Let's say this.
Very huge.
Atlanta has never beaten New York in the regular season.
Yes.
They got by them, of course, in the playoffs in 2018. In the Eastern Conference Finals. Charlie, do you agree with the fans? Was that part of your Predict 6?
I would have predicted Atlanta to win 1-0. 1-0. Now, New York Red Bull has not really played to their full capability, and I don't see them as that aggressive pressing team that they once had with Jesse Marsch. They've kind of eased up a little bit when it came to that aggressive press all over the field. Atlanta still has to figure out where those goals are going to come from. PT Martinez and Ezequiel Barco, those are the two best players on the field for Atlanta. Those are the two playmakers. They can score off of set pieces. They can score off the run and play, combination play. They can shoot from distance. They're going to rely on those two to create the goals, to score the goals. But I think it's going to be one of those things where it's by committee. Who will step up? We've seen Emerson Hyndman score some goals for Atlanta. PT and Barco are going to have to figure out who's going to take it upon themselves to finish and get them those necessary 3 points. As far as possession, this tournament suits in Atlanta because they can keep the ball. That's where you're going to really excel in this tournament, is tiring teams out, because for 90 minutes chasing the ball, that's not what you want to do in this climate. You can sit back all you want, but if you're chasing, the advantage goes to the teams that can keep the ball and make teams chase.
I'm glad you didn't get your Predict 6 in, because you would have been heartbroken because you're wrong. Atlanta United is the team that's probably most reliant on one player in MLS. That player is not there. Mm-hmm. To see them go up against a team in New York that has cohesion, they know who they are. They may not press as much, but they've played together as a group, and they've got arguably the best center back pairing in MLS. You've got Casares, who already scored a goal earlier this year. You've got Kaku. You've got Royer. You've got guys who run up top. This is a New York team, I think, that's set up well in this group, because there's a lot of unknowns, and they are a known quantity to themselves, and that gives you confidence, Charlie. That's what a team needs coming to this competition. It's what we saw from San Jose last night.
I respect your opinion, but I politely decline to accept that.
Charlie, that's why I got to work with you, because you always push me. You always challenge me. The other game tonight, of course, another rivalry, almost as strong as the Dave Goss Charlie Davies rivalry, is Hell is Real. FC Cincinnati kicking off against their Ohio rival, Columbus Crew, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That one on FS1. And there's a lot going into this one, Charlie. But let's start on the Columbus side, because I picked them to win the whole thing. I think they've been starting to become a convenient dark horse pick, whatever it is. When you look at Caleb Porter's team,
they are convenient.
They are convenient?
Yeah, they're convenient.
Oh, my God. Now you're going to throw that at me. What do you expect to see tonight? What do you expect to see this tournament from this team?
Well, we talk about possession, and then you have to mention Darlington Nagbe. In that midfield with Lucas Rayon and Artur, they're going to need to keep the ball between those three and be able to spread the ball from side to side, use their outside backs and Harrison Affle, who obviously get up and down the lines, play those balls in. And Jossie Zardes, you talk about a player who can stretch defenses. If a team starts to press you or gets aggressive, you're going to utilize that spacing behind with José Zardes, who has proven now that he can hold up the ball, he can combine, but his strength has always been getting in behind and finishing his chances. So this Columbus team is well established. They have a good foundation. And you talk about playing a Cincinnati team that is a new coach. You're missing your best player in Jürgen Locadia. There's a lot of question marks. The expectations are very low. Columbus need to come out from the get-go and show, hey, we're dominant. We got to finish our chances right away and put this game to bed. As soon as they do that, that'll ruin the hope and the chance that this new Cincinnati side might have with a new coach and Jaap Stam.
I worry about Columbus a little bit tonight and what we talked about, the lack of goal scoring. It's been that final pass, the quickness, the movement, similar to NYCFC. That might be hard game one, but you see here FC Cincinnati, Jaap Stam coming in. He's been with the team for about 2 weeks before they got to Orlando, and has, of course, been with them down in Orlando. This is the man, Jürgen Locadia, that we thought they were going to put all their hopes on his shoulders. He's out injured, so now it shifts a little bit for Cincinnati. We know Jaap Stam came in because he has the same ideas of the way he wants to play as what Cincinnati's been building towards over the last year. Charlie, 4-3-3, a little bit of possession, pressing at times, but a solid from the back. What do you expect from Cincinnati in this competition?
A team that's going to go out there and show their coach they want to be on the field. They're going to play with 100% commitment. They're going to stick to his ideals and his philosophy. A 4-3-3 is a typical Dutch formation and Dutch system where you get the wingers high, active, playing ball, whipping balls in. They have talented players. And in this tournament, I want to see Frankie Amaya really take a jump and show, hey, I have the skill, the talent to play and excel. He needs to get on the ball often, play those balls through, be the player that's connecting from the midfield to the front three. And this Cincinnati team is playing with no expectations. They're going out and they're just going to try and do their best, but they could surprise some teams because they do have talent.
They do have talent, and you mentioned it. Jaap Stam walks through the door. I mean, that's how you get a team to say, yeah, I really want to work hard, because you have to prove to this guy you deserve to get playing time. And this is a guy who's done it at the highest level possible in the world, a name that everyone knows. So it should be exciting to watch that. The Predict 6 was 71% to Columbus. So you mentioned no expectations for FC Cincinnati. The fans agreed with you. It's going to be fascinating to watch what goes on tonight. So once again, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Big Fox. You've got Stu Holden and John Strong holding it down for you. New York Red Bulls against Atlanta United, a replay of the Eastern Conference Finals from 2 years ago. It's been one of the best rivalries in MLS since Atlanta came in. And then you follow that up with a new rivalry in Ohio. The hell is real. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. That one on FS1. Of course, that Fox crew holding you over between with Maurice Adu, Alexi Lawless, and Rob Stone. And that is just tonight's game. We've got a triple header coming up tomorrow. And of course, as we mentioned with Jeremy Ebobisse, 2 big games in Group F coming up on Monday night, because Charlie, soccer never ends. MLS is back.
It doesn't.
It's games on games.
I can't wait. Give me more. Give me more.
Yeah, it felt so lonely with just the one game on Friday night, but now these teams, as everyone's gotten into the bubble and gotten comfortable, we're starting to settle in. So it's going to be exciting to watch going forward. Don't forget, MLS Today, presented by AT&T, is going to be every day at 11 a.m., coming right after those 9 a.m. games. And, of course, previewing all the night games, as we've got Atlanta United coming up tonight without Josef Martinez. Charlie,
look at this.
I don't know.
No Joseph, no problem. I really don't know either. I mean, Carlos Bocanegra, he has my cell phone. He could easily call me or text me and say, hop on a flight. We'd love to have you for this tournament. And I'd say, you know what? It sounds tempting, but I'm loving this side of things. But this is what it's going to come down to. Can Atlanta step up? No Joseph, no problem. Instead of the question mark, exclamation point. That's what they're looking for tonight. Can they get that first regular season win against New York Red Bull?
This is PT and Barco's chance to lead the way. PT, South American Player of the Year 2 years ago, Copa Libertadores champion with River Plate in his prime. If he's going to do it, now is the time. We've got so much soccer coming up. We have enjoyed our time with you. Before we let you go here on MLS Today, presented by AT&T, we've got one big news announcement, new acquisition in the ETR and MLS world coming in,
yes.
superstar off the bench. We've got Wyatt River Wiebe, born yesterday out in Vacaville, California, Andrew Wiebe's second son. So the
On his
center-back
birthday.
pairing is complete on Andrew's birthday. I think we have a
Yes.
photo. Do we have a photo?
I think we do.
No photo. Okay, we do
Nope.
not have a photo.
No photo. Oh,
No. I can
All right.
confirm it is a cute child. Charlie,
Yes.
let me ask this one last question and then we'll go. You are a father of twins, so you got two
Yes.
birthdays on the same day.
yes.
But you seem like a big birthday guy. Would you want to share your birthday?
Well, I can tell you right now, Andrew Wiebe's birthday is out the window. It's all about Wyatt.
Done.
So
Never again.
done. And if I had to share my birthday with the twins, my birthday's gone. I love my birthday, so that's all I'm gonna say. And their birthday's on St. Patrick's Day, my twins. So it's like they got
In
the
Boston?
double whammy in Boston. Yeah.
Sorry, evacuation day. Isn't that what they call it? Or whatever fake
Yeah.
holiday they made up to
Hey.
get everyone off?
You know, Boston, St. Patrick's Day is a big holiday.
Cheers. A place everyone knows your name. For Charlie Davies, I'm David Goss. This was MLS Today, presented by AT&T. Coming every day for you, 11 a.m. on Twitter, MLSsoccer.com. Where else? You've got games starting tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time because MLS is back. Thanks so much
It's
for
back.
watching, and have a great day.